Okay, everybody. This is the 8 o'clock meeting or the talk. I guess I came up with Republic vibration, but I remembered another term I use. It's a freedom frequency. So I think I'm going to convert the title of this effort to that. I really like doing these two meetings a night. I kind of in the in-between part, I remembered a lot of the stuff I didn't talk about or bring up in the first one. So I get to, probably cover a little more, make a little better presentation for this one. So, the things that I'm really wanting to share and really talk about, is really understanding that, our government, that there is a republic and that the people have the power, and that there is, I think, an awareness there that would really be fruitful for all of us if we had a, kind of understanding it. And then the notion or the understanding of frequency and vibration, something that Nikola Tesla mentions and talks about a lot, and for some reason has really grabbed a hold of me, and I feel I have a very unique understanding of it. In the first meeting, I kind of went on and I guess on each of those topics a little bit, and what my intention is to really talk about why I'm doing this. I've kind of waffled with going over my experience over the last 3 years and kind of a change of spirit, whatever, that has kind of brought me here. But it's, what it really is I went through a rough divorce in 2018, and it really took me to the rock bottom in a lot of ways. And through that process, I just kind of, I actually remember the conscious thought of realizing that everything I wanted in this world, in this life, had basically just kind of eroded, and it had happened purely under my watch and under my effort, my control. And I realized that maybe there's just something else that should be making more decisions. Maybe I need a new master. And there wasn't anything specific. There wasn't anything like, I know it was that thought that maybe there was something else out there that knows more than I do. And my experience of just the months before that, really bouncing off rock bottom and doing a lot of painful questioning, it turned around in a flash. Like, all my unfortunate things turned into just beautiful gifts and grace and a great start of a journey. And through that process, early on, when I was starting to recognize my vibration without really having a conscious understanding of it, I started to have a vision. I started to have visions. I started to think about what the future could be. I started to think about, a beautiful future. And the vision I had was this part of our world, part of our nation, our society, being almost split into two societies. And the one that would be new is a very community-centered world, where people can congregate and live in community completely on their own, completely self-governed, living off the land, taking care of themselves, and allowing them to have this existence, this spiritual or life experience consumed in Mother Nature, and being more connected to Mother Nature and living in community. And it was very prevalent. Like, it was just like, there's no reason why a living soul that comes into this world, that comes into this nation, shouldn't have the opportunity to live in peace and to live with Mother Nature as Mother Nature intended. And I just saw this perfect little balance where you could have a choice of getting on the hamster wheel or not. And that became almost a focus of mine. It was like, how do I really make this happen? You know, and I started to learn a little bit more about plants. I started to, you know, make it more part of my life. I started to think about, you know, my community and how my impact on my neighbors and just the people I live with or I'm around. I know if you talk to me on Facebook, you probably wouldn't agree with that, but it really got a hold of me, and I started to talk about this with some people, and I am surprised at how many people out there really want to do this too, that really see a future where we could go back to the land, where we can really, you know, have the opportunity to, you know, create that world. And the more and more I thought about it, I was like, there is absolutely no reason why we can't do that. There are so many people that want this, that would be willing to put in the effort. And my experience has, in a roundabout way, really kind of led me to a position where I think we can really kind of start manifesting that. And in order to get there, I feel that there are just two principles that us as a people, I guess, really need to understand or get more awareness of. You know, one is really in how we interact with how we are governed. And one is a real understanding of how we are the most advanced technology in the universe. The human being and its ability to interpret frequency and vibration and use it and work with it is the greatest technology in the universe. And it's something we don't even know, that we're not even really aware of, that they definitely don't teach us. So when I ask myself why I'm doing this, why I want to have these talks every week, you know, that's my ulterior motive, is I think that if the people got together and we all started to recognize our true power and what we are all totally capable of, that we can manifest the world that we want. I know every single person, living soul that hears this would be in agreement. Our will is not being represented by the individuals that we voted on to govern us. We are being convinced instead of being asked. There is no dialogue between the people and the government, except when it comes time to vote. And it's come to my understanding that, you know, the people, you who wrote the Constitution, created the Constitution, gave certain powers over to the government in exchange for protection and benefits and services. You gave over basically the power to govern yourselves by electing your democratic representative. You know, they're supposed to enact your will and your desire in the government system. And I don't think they do that. You know, I think they just talk about issues and get their side to all, you know, come into agreement. But the will, what's really best for the people, what we want is not being enacted. And there's no reason why it shouldn't be. I don't know, I don't have any kind of plan or some kind of great idea here that I'm going to try to like instill upon everybody, but I have come to the conclusion that, you know, we're not talking to each other. We're not even trying to formulate what we want. And I do think that that is an intentional subversion. And it's not partisan. I think it's just, it's the universal darkness that comes to people in power. And we've all just kind of accepted it. And I think there's a lot of us that see all the problems and are convinced that somebody's going to come and save us. And I can't manifest or see that happening. The only solution I see to fix this world, to get the world we want, is to recognize that we, the people, the living man, the living woman, are the only value in this nation, in this country, on this planet. And simply being a living man, a living woman, living your life however you want to in your free capacity, by waking up in the morning, doing whatever you want, and going to bed at night, whatever capacity that is enough. It is enough economic, commercial energy to make the whole system work. I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes or try to poke at too many conspiracy theories, but from my view, there is a very specific energy out there trying to convince us that we don't have the power, that we aren't not the most powerful thing in the universe, that we need to perform in order to get benefits, in order to get our rights. You cannot get anything in this world without it being in commerce. I mean, your value to the society is how much money you can make, what you can get other people to do, how much profit you can make. And we're convinced that we have to work hard enough to get peace, to get the things that we want, that we have the right to. And I see it. All I can do is talk about it. But I guess I'd really just see us talking here as the solution, you know, and I don't know where it's going to go. And I have hopes and dreams, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, I want just us to start having conversations about this stuff. And so the other aspect mainly, you know, is understanding what I'm talking about frequency and vibration. It's a hippie term, I guess, you know, in certain spiritual circles, you know, we talk about your vibe, keep your vibe high, you know, elevate your vibe, stay away from the low vibe. And it's a great term, like it sounds cool, but what the hell does it mean? Like vibration, a high vibration. Like what does having a high vibration for you really even mean? Well, I think in order to grasp that, you got to kind of understand, in my opinion, you kind of understand certain principles of what vibration is, what frequency is. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Yeah, there's my little quote by Tesla. I mean, that man did nothing but try to serve humanity and bring great things to the people. And he was ostracized from society. He was made fun of, ridiculed, and just humiliated. And he did nothing but bring great things to this world. So yeah, real quick, trying to get through this a little faster. You know, frequency, frequency is a rate, okay? And in science terms, it is measured in hertz, which is a cycle or an operation per second. So that's just one cycle in a second. So Mississippi, I mean, even when you say the syllables of that, that's got to be like 3 cycles in a second just by saying that word. But so, it's something that has an increased frequency, a higher frequency, like 4 hertz compared to 1 hertz, it's 4 cycles per second, which simply means there are just 4 oscillations, 4 things happening within that same amount of time. So there's just, more processes, more revolutions, more vibrations, at a higher rate. So to understand how, frequency is kind of used in, kind of a known world, I guess, of, electrical systems operate at 60 hertz. The electrons in the wire vibrate at 60 cycles per second. So, again, Mississippi, 60 things happened in that same second. And you take it to the highest end of the spectrum to that, the physical world knows the fastest computer is 4.3 gigahertz, and a gigahertz is 1 billion cycles per second. So that's 1 billion things happening in 1 second. I mean, that's something that our conscious mind honestly can't even fathom. Like, we can't even count to 1 billion. We pass out. So that's the basics of how a vibration is, what a frequency is. So if now to understand why high vibration is very impactful to you, if you have a high vibration, if you understand that you have a vibration of gigahertz, of 1 billion vibrations per second, and you look at that in terms of a computer, a fast processing speed computer can do more, see more, show more, handle better quality of everything, right? You can handle massive videos, whatnot. You can have a more rich experience simply by having more processes per second, more things happening in the same amount of time. Or like a slow computer or a low vibration, being a low vibe, you're just not processing things as fast. You're only processing at a much slower rate. And so if you think of that in terms of like a TV, like the old, old projector TVs, you can see a story with a flip book, right? Where you're flipping pages that are probably at a rate of like 3 or 4 hertz or whatever. We're just seeing a new image every, 5 times a second. Well, the faster that thing goes, the more smooth and, the better viewing, experience it is. And that's kind of what happens when your vibration works. If you are in a high vibe, okay, if you are in a positive outlook and your vibration is high, you just see and experience more of the world per second. Everything you do is the same. You still have the same processes and you live the life your same way, but as you do it, you're recognizing so much more of the experience. And the explanation of that is the understanding what being in a low vibe is. If you're angry, if you're hateful, if you're shameful, if you feel bad about yourself, if you feel negative about the outside world, that things are eventually going to go bad, you're in a low vibe. And for me, it's super obvious now, but even looking back at my experience that, I've gotten quite angry in my time. And, my temper has been something I've struggled to manage forever. And I know what that feeling of rage is like, and I'm being so angry that I want to just do destruction, honestly, sometimes, and just not having any other avenue, not knowing what else to do. I have no idea what to do other than to just let out my anger. And even though someone might tell me or show me an out or a solution, I don't even process it. I don't even hear them. And that's like the deepest, I think, of the dark. And you just don't think the same way, and you're just overwhelmed with every little thing. And so that's the fundamental principle of understanding your vibe. And when you can totally understand that everything in the known universe is a vibration. It is a frequency. I mean, everything physical that you think is rock solid, that is your brain is converted into being solid and feel solid, is at its fundamental atomic principles structure a vibration of atoms and electrons spinning around charged particles, and how those are arranged and how those particles harmonize with other particles create the different elements of the periodic table and the different substances we see, you know, in the world. You know, our vision, colors are nothing but different vibrations of light. Sound is clearly a vibration, right? And beautiful music is a harmony of various frequencies and vibrations harmonized together. Whereas they change in different frequencies, they match up in certain points. And that creates harmony. It's the same thing that, you know, from a signal processing standpoint, in electronics, I think of like harmonics and resonance and noise when you're doing electrical or signal processing work or whatnot, that you get an influence, an outside vibration influencing your signal. It resonates and shows up in a repeating pattern. Patterns, the idea of a pattern is a frequency. It's the same thing happening over and over. You know, the sun and the moon go up and down consistently, steady, strong frequency. You know, your body, I mean, and your everything you do, you know, your heart beats at a frequency. You breathe in a frequency. So, you know, understanding your vibe and what Nikola Tesla meant by the frequency and vibration, I think that this is definitely on the right track. And when you can recognize your vibe and you can recognize what's inside of you versus what is outside of you, and when you can recognize your vibration, you recognize your truth, what you know to be right and what you know to be wrong. And the idea of the old schoolyard phrase, you know, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words can hurt you. I've been hurt by words plenty. Okay. But I've also heard similar, the same words, and had no effect on me. Didn't agitate me to the slightest. And the way I experience that or understand that is that, you know, if somebody came up to me and made fun of me for being short when I'm 6'2", it doesn't matter how mean or nasty they are about it. I know that's not true. Like, it's not going to bum me out or make me feel bad about myself, because I know the truth, right? And so when somebody says something you know is the truth, not true, it washes off of you. But if you don't know your truth, and you're constantly looking for the outside world for identity, and somebody says something mean to you, and you don't know for sure if they're right or wrong, that's going to stir you up. You know, and that's I don't know, I guess the energy of what I'm talking about. So, whew. Does anybody want to chime in, want to share an experience about maybe what I'm talking about, or is there anything, you know, I would like to get a dialogue on this as much as I can, but you know, if not, I'm gonna start firing off questions. I'm looking at you, Karen Baldwin. Kathleen, raise your hand. What's up? You're muted, Kathleen. Oh no.
As I have come where you are, Ray, I think, having grown up in the church as a social place in the country, I think the church has done us a great disservice in not telling us what magnificent and beautiful souls we are.
Kathleen, your signal's coming, it's a little choppy.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay,
you know what?
Karen,
Turn your video off.
How do I do that? Down here?
There should be a stop video somewhere.
Kathleen, I heard everything you just said, and I fully understand what you just said.
Well, maybe it's
Is that better?
Stop my video.
No, but if you take off your video, Kathleen, say your video on Ray. I think we'll do it. If your video goes off, then she will have a stronger sound signal.
Yeah.
Is that
Okay,
better?
All right. Try it again, Kathleen.
I'm just talking about what I believe the disservice that the religious organizations have done to us as human beings. And that they have taught us that we come into this world as dirty, germy, creepy, sinful people, and we're not. We're beautiful, magnificent, and miraculous. We have power that we can do anything we want, anything, right? And I think that's where and our parents, of course, taught us the same thing because that's what they were taught.
Yeah.
So I think the first step of all of this for me was learning when my husband died very suddenly, to learn about forgiveness, loving myself, and moving on.
Totally. Those are all like, that's all very, I mean, if you categorize everything into a vibration,
Yes.
forgiveness is one of the highest vibrational experiences and feelings you can experience. And detaching from a vibration,
Yes.
I'm going to get to this probably much later, but like,
Oh, Ray, you and I talked about today about shame and guilt in religion.
Yes.
We did talk about this very same thing, shame and guilt, which is funny because Kathleen, that's what you just said.
Yes.
They don't teach us to value, they teach us to shame ourselves.
yeah,
Right.
On behalf of, and for some reason they teach us to shame ourselves on behalf of religion. Like
100%.
if you love your God at all, you will shame yourself.
And
right.
that God's going to come and punish you and take you to hell. And my kids would ask me, actually, my 11-year-old son asked me this after his dad had taken him to all of the churches and synagogues before he was confirmed in the Lutheran church. He came in the house one day and looked at me and said, "Mom," he said, "is there hell?" I said, "If there is, you're living in it right now. No, otherwise there isn't."
Right.
My
This
mom
is
used
it.
to say that too.
Yeah. But
If
you know,
there is
that's-
such a thing as hell, this is it.
So, I know what I told you guys, and this is God's honest truth. We are the most valuable thing ever. We have the most
Yes.
power in the known world. How valuable would it be to control that? Right?
I think
mean,
we can harness our energies for sure.
What's that?
I think we can harness energy for sure.
For sure. But
And we can
what I'm saying is that,
manifest.
what you're talking about the church is right. The shame stuff, I believe it's an intentional effort to lower your vibration.
Yep, they're part of it, Ray.
Right. And so, I mean, when I talk about the what it's like to be in a low vibration and having to make decisions based off a spotty TV antenna, like all right, here's another little analogy. Frequency in hertz is per time, but also frequency can be recognized like distance, right? Like mile markers, 1 every mile, right? Well, let's say you're going through the jungle, right? You're in the jungle of life, and you come to this huge canyon, and there's a bridge, there's a footbridge, right? Planks, rope, and you got to cross it. Well, if those planks are laid out at a very high frequency, it's going to be a very easy walk. If they're not, if they're spaced out farther and farther apart, that frequency is lower and lower, it's going to be a huge challenge jumping from board to board, and if you're operating on that low vibration away, you have to fill in a lot more of the gaps. You have to make up what's the in between. When your vibration's high and you have a lot of cycles happening per second, you're seeing it, you're experiencing it, you're open to it, you're aware of it. Things are just easier. But when your vibe's low, and you're not getting the full data, you have to reach out for more. You have to fill in the blanks more. And when you don't know what to do and someone offers you salvation or comfort, you're going to grab onto that quickly, right? And that's, if you look at look at the things we do for comfort, when we are in a low vibration state and everything's going bad, it's like, man, all I want is something nice and easy or comfortable. We might go to like
Yeah.
food, or maybe there's other things that that we just cling on to for comfort, to either mask our low vibration or temporarily raise it. And
So Ray,
we as a people, when we're held in a low vibration, we are easily swayed. We cannot see the in between. We cannot see the reasoning why. We just can only react to what is happening. So that's what I want to say. Somebody else was going to say something.
that was me, Ray. Kathleen. My understanding is that as humans, we need at least 10 hugs a day.
Right?
Now, a human touch, and that's of course part of what the pandemic is about. So this past month, I was an election judge. And my analogy of all of that, it's a full-time job for a month.
Uh-huh.
And that if human beings got handled, I use the word fondled, probably not a good word right now, but handled as many times as these ballots that we handled during this election, we would be very healthy people.
Yeah, I mean, there's being around other vibrations that are high, socializing, just being in the capacity, the environment, that does raise your vibration, and even being just like two people that aren't having a high vibration, just coming together and sharing each other's vibe, that's healing. That can at least rectify the ship a little bit. We can talk about the things that we can do to raise and lower our vibration. I'm sure you guys have ideas. What do you think are activities that would raise an individual's vibration?
Not read the news. No, stay
Cut out-
away from all the news.
Cut out toxins, cut
And-
out.
Take a
But I think
walk.
it's something
Noise.
one
Be
can
physical.
do is one can go to the places where they're happy.
Yeah.
One can be active in the happiness. Being active, I think, is part of it. Sitting home and doing nothing is stagnation. Stagnation does not raise a vibration, but activity does.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but at the same, I have to just mention that there is a lot of power of sitting in silence. There's a lot of power in.
But that's actively as something as well. But that's an intention. It's an intentional something.
Exactly. You're right. Yeah. You have to have that. Yeah. If you're lethargic and you're just not have any type of thirst for life. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a pretty low vibration, but what you said, enjoy the good times too, is like, not just having a vibration, but our vibration does fluctuate up and down. Like, we will always go through good times and we will always go through bad times. There is no way to cut out all the bad times. It's just
But
not.
you get to choose them. You get to choose them, right, with the good and the bad. It's all choice.
Yes and no.
You have to
I
make some
mean,
choices about the good for sure. The bad, sometimes it feels like I
Well,
mean,
what I'm-
choose
what
the
I'm going
behavior,
with-
choose the consequence might be true too, right? Like, you're not always choosing the bad, but you have to handle the bad. But you do get to choose good things. You do get to say, I intentionally am going to go for this hike because it brings me beauty and positive
Sure.
and fresh air and exercise. You can, and I mean that all the way up the ladder in the chain.
Right, but we can't always control the dumps. We can't always control those just sorrowful down moments. I mean, I'm
No,
not
I'm not
saying we
suggesting
can.
that either. Like
What's
that
that?
comes. That's a regardless.
We can control how we handle them, what we do.
That's right.
Right,
Yes.
but the down days come. They just do.
Yes, they
and
do.
So recognizing that they will, recognizing that high times don't always last, is also recognizing the low times won't always last, just inevitably. Regardless of what you do, they're, it's gonna return. At least, especially if you're aware of it. So, the message I'm sharing here is like, when your vibe's high and you're feeling good, live it up. Experience as much as you can. Share it with friends. Like, and just really put in that effort to keep it. And when you're going through the low times, self-care. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're eating right. Get the rest. Take the showers. Whatever it takes to get out to nature. Go to your happy place. Don't try to take on too much when you know your vibe's low. Like it's just gonna infect your vibe's gonna infect everything you do. You know, that's how vibration works. You know, it's like you throw a rock in a pond, you throw a little pebble out there, it's gonna have a little ripple, but the bigger vibe, the bigger rock, you know, you won't see that pebble vibration anymore. You know, so when you're if you gotta, if you're taking action, you're doing things in a low vibe state, like you are spreading, you know, and you don't not necessarily have to be an intentional obvious thing, but you know, I can recognize it that like I know when I'm in a grumpy mood and I go out and hang out with people, I affect other people's moods. Like, you know, if I'm grumpy, you know, a lot of people can just get grumpy too, just from my energy. And there's a lot of very strong people. Karen Baldwin's one of them, you know, like if I'm coming with a bad vibe for whatever, you know, she's got the presence to recognize that and just not try to fix me, not try to like point at what my stuff is, but just raise her vibe, shine her light, and you know, things, you know, the badness is kind of peters out a little bit, you know, and that's
That's really kind of you to say, Ray. Thank you.
true. So,
Well,
I do think there's some, I guess, specific things I want to, from my experience, what can really raise someone's vibe, you know, is, you know, I do think going out into nature, being around Mother Earth is so therapeutic. You know, it doesn't have to be a hike. It doesn't have to be camping. It doesn't have to be an activity. Like sitting under a tree by a creek, just getting lost in your thoughts, I think really has a healing, you know, benefit.
I think intention is what raises your vibe.
You think tension raises it?
No, intention. Such a different word.
Intention.
Intention raises your vibe. I think you have to be mindful enough and self-aware enough to intentionally, I am not in good vibe. I want to raise my vibe.
Yeah.
I'm going to seek it.
It takes a lot of power.
That's
I
where the
think you've
power
got
is, isn't it?
That's right.
Well, I mean, I know that's hard for me. You know, when I get in my dumps, sometimes I know I can get myself out of it and I can go do whatever, but sometimes it's just like I still don't want to. You know, it's like it still got in. But yeah, you know, I still can mitigate it too. Like I still kind of, I guess, struggle with my temper from time to time, and you know, I'm always amazed after the fact how I let myself get that mad about something. And I was super upset about something, and I was out in my backyard, and I was just like grinding my teeth, kind of rageful. And I told myself, I was like, "You're creating this. You're creating this. You know, I was the one creating the rage, the anger, the pain, whatever. I was manifesting all of it."
Yeah, but the first step
It
is
doesn't mean I've
acknowledging that
What's
to
that?
Yeah.
yourself. The first step
Yeah.
is acknowledging that to
Right.
yourself. I mean,
Well, yeah, but
I
even
can be in
then,
a
like
seething mood and go, Susan, what are you doing to yourself? You know,
yeah,
get out of your own way, girl.
right. But
Susan, I've been there. Susan, I've totally been there.
yeah, recognizing it though, I don't think isn't enough. It's the first step, but it's still, you can still recognize it and it can still beat that, you know. But you know, having those tools, those things,
Agreed.
those high vibrational activities, you know, is and that's what you know, like a spiritual community, people talk about their practice. You know, it's like have a little self-care like every day. You know, whether it's a morning practice of sitting with your coffee and watching the sun come up, or yoga and meditation, or you know, it's find those little things, and it's your, you know, you create a frequency when you just keep doing them over and over, and they become part of you, and you're already getting a head start on healing or whatever. You're in a better mindset for when that darkness comes, and you know, your vibe just starts off a little higher.
Agreed. And I love the touching, the human connection, the
Yeah.
physical
Yes.
touch.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
sometimes
Ray.
we don't have people around us. Sometimes it's just a critter, an
Yeah.
animal.
Uh-huh. Karen?
Hey, Ray, I don't know how long you intend this to go before your YouTube channel, but may I tell your story of today?
Ha,
May I?
sure.
So Ray,
I'm recording this. I'm gonna end it
today.
after the story.
This is great, like, because we're talking about raising your vibration. So y'all don't know me, Ray and I, we've been friends for a while, like for a good while, right?
Mhm.
And I kind of consider Ray one of my ride or dies, but I think he considers me one that way too. But you know what I mean? We're not like each other's every week kind of thing, right? But something happened today. I'm standing out on a street corner in downtown Arvada, and I dropped my phone, like fumble fingers level crap, right? Like my mask was in my hand. We're still wearing masks in my office. My mask was in my hand, and for whatever reason, things just went floopa, floopa, floopa. And my phone fell to the street because I was standing right on the corner or right on the edge of the sidewalk, right? Problem is that the 2-foot area that I happen to be sitting in also has storm drain, and my phone went floopa, 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 swoosh. And my phone went into the storm drain. No kidding. It was that moment where you're like, no, but you can't stop it.
Does that story have a happy ending?
We're not done. So I called Arvada Denver Sewer, which is part of Arvada or Denver Water. You could tell I live in Arvada. And they came out, and they could, because the manhole is not close enough to that storm drain, they were not able to fish my phone. They're like, if you had the manhole in a closer space, I can actually do this. Your sewer belongs to the building. The building went down, and they're like, we actually can't access that. That's not actually us. I'm like, so it's them, but they don't know it's them. Yeah, that's how it went. So I went up and I did a little Google, and then I called my friend Ray, because MacGyver can do shit. MacGyver can always do shit. I know who, you know how you've got a series of friends and you know the one you need to call when you need to call? I called him in the middle of the day. I'm like, so I have a problem. Here's the answer. Can we do this? And I'll be damned if Ray didn't show up and like got strong magnets. He did. got some string. He brought not only climbing rope, but the regular like twine that you use to bundle your sticks. And we figured it out. And MacGyver took a video of the storm drain, figured out where my phone was, figured out how to place the magnet on my phone, pulled that shit up, and returned my phone to me today. You have to know, like, people are like stopping, like, what are y'all doing? Like, I lost my phone down the storm drain. They're like, good luck with that. They were laughing at us.
I was very aware that we had a lost phone down in the sewer gutter, and I was sticking my phone way down there too.
Take videos.
Which I had to
Haunting
do, 'cause I had to
danger.
see where it was, but it was like, all right,
Haunting danger, right?
yeah, this is world's stupidest criminal here in a minute.
Well, and every single time he put his phone in, I was like, I told him, like, you better hang on tight to that. I'm going to say it every time to you. Like, I literally said, please hold that tight. Please don't drop a second phone, because if you lose your phone, I'm going to have to pay for 2 phones today.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I'm gonna
Good
stop
job.
the recording just
Thank you.
so it doesn't get huge.